Good morning, it's Jessie Dujari with Healing Pathwalkers again. It's time for our morning oasis. So that's what we're going to start calling this, is a little morning oasis time. I have been talking with people and just trying to decide the best way to show up, and I feel like this is a great way for me to connect with all of you, for you to connect with me. So during the time that you're in, we'll kind of do the same format. I'll start in the beginning and I'll talk about the subject. You can post questions if you'd like. You can post comments if you'd like. If I see them, I will try to address them as we go. And then I'll do a little bit of a reading for us. Maybe I'll do one card pulls, or maybe I'll just kind of, we'll see what we feel inspired to do. And then we'll wrap up with a meditation with each other. So I don't think it'll always be, like an hour like yesterday. I think it'll probably be shorter most of the time, but I'm going to just go with it and see how it goes. So good morning. I'm going to keep pulling out my cards and give it just a moment for people to come on. Although it seems that most of you watch the recording rather than the live. Which is why we transitioned all the classes, by the way, from live classes to recorded classes. So if you are still interested in taking classes with me, check out our recorded classes. They're awesome, super powerful. You take them at your own rate. You can do it at your own time. Okay. All right, so I've got all my cards out. All right, so what I was going to talk about today, I'm going to continue the conversation on the separation wound. And I think that I truly believe, as a result of my work with others, it is that separation wound that creates so much of our suffering, so much of our struggle in our lives. So what I thought I would do is, is tell you guys a sort of a story that I heard when I mean, it sounds a little crazy, but that I heard from God when I was trying to understand. I spend a lot of time in meditation, especially during my training. There were weeks where I'd spend between 4 and 6 hours a day in meditation. Morning, Kimberly. Morning, Shantae. So I would spend so much time in meditation and so much time sitting and asking questions. I'm a very curious person. If you know me, I ask a lot of questions. I answer a lot of questions. I talk a lot about it. So in my meditations, I found pretty quickly, good morning, Shauna, that I was getting stories. I was getting messages. I was being told these tales by source in order for me to understand. I'm one of those people, my work is go to the root of the problem, go to the source of the problem, go to the point of creation of where it all began for you. I went to the point of creation where it all began. And I asked God, why does this suffering have to even be a part of it? And I heard a story that I then later heard being told by a Muslim scholar, an Islamic scholar. And I found out they considered it the story of Gabriel. So I'm going to tell you guys this little story. Basically, in the beginning, for any creation, because there's many creations out there, in the beginning there was just the creator, just this sphere of consciousness. And it didn't understand itself, and it didn't know the rules. It didn't know how things worked. It didn't know how things began. So it divided itself, and it divided itself into two. And it said to the other, oh, it's so good to see you. It's so good to understand you. It's funny, my cat's meowing. So other things are in the house for sure. Usually something comes in when I start talking about this. So it looked at itself and had a whole romance with itself. It fell in love with itself. It was so amazed of the beauty and the perfection. And it didn't think of it as that's me, right? It thought of it as that was you, separate from me. And so then it started to create, and it just played with the creation and began creating these things and places and worlds in order for it to explore and find itself in other ways, in other situations. But when we only have two, we know there's a limitation of the understanding and the awareness. A collective group has so much more. So it divided itself even more. And as it continued to divide itself into these pieces, into these fragments and parts of itself, the parts forgot more and more what they were originally as a whole, and they felt forced to live in this singularity. So this process continued and continued and continued. This is the creation, right? We talk about, in the Bible, it talks about in 7 days, he created earth, and that then he in the stages of creation, created the planet, created the life on the planet, and continued to grow from there. So what the great experiment became, those original divisions were Source creating its angelic army, basically, what we call the angelic army, or that tier of the angelics. So that tier of angelics, they knew they were from God. They knew they were a part of God, and they didn't have free will. They didn't have a concept of, why would I do anything of my own desire? Why? They didn't even really have that, because they still held the truth that they were from the Source. They still were connected intimately into that creation. So Source decided, in order to really understand itself, it had to forget that it was a Source entirely. It had to forget everything that it knew. It had to undo everything about itself, and then put itself into some sort of creation or situation. See, would that individual consciousness find its way back to itself? Would it find its way back to the Source? Would it create a path that it could walk and find its way to remembrance of its full consciousness? That's what we're doing. That's what we are. We're pieces of Source, trying to see if we can remember that we are Source collectively. We are together. We are one. So I think that what happens for humanity, for humans, is because as a collective, we've shifted so far away from the remembrance. We've shifted so far away from that separation space. It's like we're this pendulum, and we've swung all the way out here to where we're as fragmented and broken as we can be. And now we're swinging back, and we're coming back, and the pieces are starting to come back together. So a lot of people right now are suffering and struggling with the pieces and the multiplicities coming together. What I'm working with people a lot on is, dualistic experiences. So I said this, they said something totally different. We didn't have the same communication at all. It was written down. I wrote this day, you wrote that day. I show up, there's no one there for the appointment. This is happening a lot. It's happening to me a lot. It's happening to other people that I work with a lot. It's happening to my family. It's happening in my home. As we come together, if we continue to hold the idea and the belief that we're separate, that I am not connected to you, then that gives us permission to do judgments, to create barriers, to become defensive, to be protective of ourselves, right? Protective of ourself. I have to protect myself. And I think that takes us further away from where we're going. And so right now, there are going to be those who are really accepting of this and are embracing it and are riding that ride all the way back into the wholeness. And then they're coming back and they're like, oh my God, I'm one with Source. I'm one with God. I am God. You are God. If you just remember you're God. And so they get this real high of the excitement of that energy, of that understanding, as they heal that separation wound in themselves. But we need to heal the separation wound in our culture, in our community. I post a lot of stuff about Standing Rock, and I tend to stay out of controversial topics for the most part. But I believe that it's critical for everyone to know that those people that are there are us that are there. Their needs are our needs, right? And they're speaking to what the collective needs to shift into, which is this awareness of we all are together in this. So as you find your way on your path back into remembering that you are a creator being, a part of the creation, here, manifesting itself, experiencing and learning from your unique perspective, from your unique set of experiences that only you can go through. As you remember this, remember that the person that you're so hurt by, that you're so upset with, is also the creator being, finding it's their way back to you, to themselves, to the whole. That's the collective healing that we're looking for right now. So, a lot of you I know are struggling with frustration and pain, finding things breaking around you, finding relationships breaking, coping patterns and strategies not working anymore. That's because those coping patterns, those strategies were designed to maintain the separation. And all of the energy is now designed to heal the separation. So they're not going to work. So let them go. I think that the trick in letting those things go, though, is in forgiveness of ourselves, in forgiveness of the pieces of ourselves that have broken away, have forgotten. There's a lot of people who also struggle with anger towards God, anger towards Source. They don't open their crowns at all because they're angry about how the messages, how spirituality, how religion has abused and misused them, has mistreated them and created spaces that are painful for people. So all of this is necessary, though. That's the thing. Is we want to reject, we want to heal, we want to fix, we want to shift the consciousness, we want to fix things. But it's all necessary. The woundings are there in order to show us that we want to care, that we want to connect, that we want to have compassion, that we want to help another person. So if you're in the concept of you want to be a healer, you want to help people, you want to be out there supporting people, I get it. That's what we're doing. But remember, you're also healing you in the process and healing that separation wound. So that's pretty much the thing that I feel like that's it. The next time we'll move on to a totally different subject. And then I guess if you guys would like, I can do one card pulls. If anybody wants me to pull a card for them, go ahead and leave a comment. And I know there were some comments earlier, and that's kind of part of the deal. Let's see. All right. Yeah, we got Jante. You were the first one. Jante, I hope France is going well, and I hope your studies are going well. I was going to tell you, you were saying you were writing a paper on synesthesia. So I actually had a friend who's a neuro scientist, and he teaches at PSU. And we were talking, and I was telling him about how I struggle with, I will see in writing, I'll see certain words will pop in a color, or I'll have a smell associated with something. And he was mentioning that, oh, you're probably synesthetic or whatever it was. I was like, I always get diagnosed with something when I hang out with him. So it feels like the Earth Magic deck wants to talk to you, Jante. We'll see what they have to say. We'll just do pulls for, let's say 10 minutes. We'll do 10 minutes of card pulls. All right. Oh, waterfall. Waterfall. I love that one. I got this one too. Waterfall and effortless. You know, the water doesn't think about falling down. It just flows through the gravity, over the cliff, drops, and allows itself to land where it needs to. It's effortless in its grace and its flow. And even when it's raging, it still feels effortless and flowing. So it's time to flow. You've put yourself in the perfect place for major movement. A waterfall also creates power and energy. That's why we always put our dams at the site of natural drops, of waterfalls, of rapids, of those sorts of elevation changes. So use the changes that you found yourself to give you that push to create more movement, more energy. That's awesome. I love waterfall. All right, and Kimberly, good morning, Kimberly. It was so cute waking up to your message. It cracked me up this morning. Thank you. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry it didn't work out quite the way we were hoping, but we'll tackle that. Let's see. The goddesses want to talk to you. It's so fun using my cards. I never really get to use my cards at home. These ones. All right. Oh, interesting. All right. So this one is Skathach. I think that's how we say her name. Again, if I have any Irish listeners or viewers, you can correct me. So she's all about boundaries. She's one of those warrior goddesses. I'm going to look her up because I don't get her very often, or rather I have ignored her in the past when I've gotten her. So clear personal boundaries, ability to say no, self-preservation, self-empowerment, identity, personal space, respect for others' boundaries, assertive, having a voice, and self-defense are the key words around her. She's a Scottish, she's a Scottish warrior. Whew. Warrior goddess Skathach, whose name means she who strikes fear, is an expert in the art of combat. She resides at the Fort of Shadows on the Isle of Skye. That's so cool. She trained many heroes and warriors with her outstanding abilities in sword fighting and weaponry. She preferred to not have a consort. She was single. Although she would honorably grant the friendship of her thighs if it suited her. I think that's fitting too. What else does it say? Skathach shows you that your boundaries reinforce your identity. Your boundaries protect you from harm and from draining your energy. Without the use of weapons, we can use tools of communication or words. An anagram of a sword to establish boundaries. Without strong, clear, and healthy boundaries, we cannot fully shine in your energy. So it's interesting because this is probably why I ignore her. So much of my work is about unbounding myself and finding that which identifies me and releasing it so that I can become not ego-less, but more embracement of my whole self. But one of the most important things in that is always honoring the unique perspective you come here to serve from. Recognizing you did separate away from Source for a reason. That you did separate to be your own unique version of you. So she's a good one to balance that out, because it's always balance, right? All right, let's see. Anybody else? Oh, good morning, Shauna. Yes, Shauna. Let's see. See if I can keep my phone at a good angle here. Shauna's like is doing better. I was just checking in with her. Oh, I can't believe she broke it. Oh, Shauna, the past life deck is wanting to talk to you. This Phoenix deck is so interesting. If you ever get a chance to play with it, it's quite interesting. I have to say, it's by Susan Shepard. I think I said this last time. I've had it for years and years and years, and I've only just recently started to play with it, and that's a shame. Okay, let's see. Shauna. Ooh, that was a lot of energy. I have to look these cards up because I don't know anything at all about them. And they're all very different. You know, they're very a different style of card. Which is part of why I struggle, because, you know, you just have to straight up memorize them. Okay. Funny. So the card is called Medieval Illumination, and it's number 20. So I'm going to kind of look through, because there's a lot of information here real quick. If you've chosen medieval illumination as a past life symbol, you are a striving individual with an ambitious personality. You have a special sense of discipline and don't mind working hard for important goals. Okay, seriously, Shauna, you're like such a workhorse. I freaking love that about you. On the exterior, you may seem aloof, reserved, or shy, and it's difficult for people to get to know you. You tend to withdraw from people who seem threatening or overtly emotional or possessive. You are more comfortable living in a private world that you use as a fortress to keep others away. So it looks like, Shauna, those aspects that we were talking about that you're working on yourself right now are stemming even further back than perhaps just this experience has taught you. What this reminds me of, and this is kind of what I was thinking we could do as our meditation in closing, is, and if I remember it again, then we'll know for sure that we're supposed to, is that, oh, isn't that so funny? As we begin to understand and recognize that themes in our life are coming from more than just our own life, right? Kitty meow, again, confirmation. That themes are coming in for more than just what's happened in this life. That it doesn't seem like anything in this life can explain it, but for some reason this is continuing to occur for you. Then perhaps it's because you are still attached to and playing out this other life experience. And I think I talked about this once before, where sometimes when we have these other parallel life experiences that others are calling past life experiences, they bleed through. You know, they're like a clump of spaghetti, and it becomes impossible to tell which one is which. So if you have a theme or subject that you're working on, which fortification, I would say, could possibly be a part of it, then you want to look at all the strands of spaghetti and work on all the strands of spaghetti, not just yours, not just the one that you consciously express within and recognize as being self. So oftentimes when I'm working on somebody, I don't actually just work on the them in front of me. I work on all of them, and I try to find where did they start to divide and where were they one. And I work from there. And that's kind of what I talked about earlier about working from the source. So this is reminding you to work from the source through all of these expressions when you want to identify and really get to the heart of what it is that creates the need for fortification, the need for separation. And it's funny because both of the Goddess deck card as well as this card are about boundaries, separation, fortification. So perhaps it's also calling into focus that, ooh, this is still quite a strong present energy for you in your life. And then it becomes about, personal belief systems. Do you believe that we're converging? Do you believe? Is this for you? Is that part of your path? Because, hey, that could just be my reality. So let's see. Did anybody else request a card? And yes, I did get yours, Kimberly. Oh, you're welcome, Katerina. Okay, so Katerina, I'll do a card for you. If ever you guys need a massage, seriously, Katerina's the one to go to. Like, she doesn't just do massage. She does, like, all this stuff. It's amazing. She does all sorts of energy work and awakening work, and my wings have never felt better. Thank you. Let's see. What wants to talk to you? Katerina. Ganesh wants to talk to you. Okay. We'll just do 2 more card pulls, this one and one more, and then we'll just move quickly into a meditation, quickly and gracefully. Let's see. What does Ganesh have to say? Okay, you got delight. So one of the other reasons Ganesh is my favorite god ever is he's the god of chocolate. Did you guys know that? The god of sweets, the god of indulgence and decadence and delight. He laughs and enjoys and relishes. Now, another thing I know about Katerina is that she makes the most freaking amazing sweet treats. Seriously, delicious sweet treats. So, I think that you need to keep delighting in that. And hey, maybe share some more of those sweet treats with me, because I love Ganesh and I love the sweet treats, especially the chocolates. Oh my God, they're so good. Okay, so delight, time to relish and enjoy. You know, find the delight and the decadence in every aspect of your life, right? Not just in the treats that we put in our yummy little mouths, but also in the joys and decadence of your puppy and its love and its exploration and its play, of your daughter and her creativity and her amazing thoughts. Now, I already know you do this. So this is a confirmation for you that this is a part of your walking. This is a part of you. And it's a beautiful part that I also delight in. Thank you. Love it. That's awesome. Perfect. Okay, so let's see. Do we have anyone else? Good. I'm glad you ordered the past life deck, Shauna. That's perfect. I do have incense burning right next to me. All right. Okay. So that's all the card readings. Unless anybody else wants one, real quick, I'm going to go ahead and put them away. And then I thought we would do, our meditation today would be about the separation. I think that when people start to recognize and consciously connect in with the collective, then our healing work, our self-work becomes collective work. And it creates even more beautiful spaces with each other. Oh, it's funny that you said that about the smoke, Kimberly, because it's only when I'm talking about certain things does all the smoke come down this way. And then right now it's like all going up that way. And here it comes again. Okay. All right. So let's just take a few moments and breathing in this present moment of awareness, feeling the air come into the body, and exhale. Breathing in and exhale. Breathing in, present moment. Remembering that your breath is the most powerful tool you have in your body. Your breath controls your heart rate, your metabolism, the impulses of your nerves. Your breath is that control. And beautifully, it's a part of your body that you can consciously control and allow to become unconscious and release. So many different meditative practices use the breath, harnessing the breath. Breathing in and release. And know that as you watch this, as you experience this yourself, breathing in, you're joining in a collective of others breathing at the same rate. Breathing in, if you feel your air catch, thank the body for showing you this blockage, this tightness, and breathe through it and release. As you breathe in, I want you to think about everything in your life that you feel connected to. And as you exhale, release it. Breathing in everything that you feel hooked to, that you feel like you have to take care of. Funny phone call. Everything that you feel responsible for, everything that you feel controls your day, your schedule. Just unhook from it for this time. In this space, in this moment, it's just for you. Now begin to feel your body sitting in your chair as you feel the air coming in and out. Feel your feet on the floor or wherever they are. And imagine roots are just growing out of these feet, out of your seat. If you're laying down, they're growing out of every aspect of your body. And now you're going to hear my son and his friend come in because it's a snow day here. So breathing in, and as you exhale, imagine you're exhaling through your roots, sending your roots even deeper down. Breathing in, and just like the tide, it comes in and goes out. Let this rhythm of your breath become your tide, pulling energy up from the roots through the body and releasing it down in an ebb and flow. Breathing through your roots up through the body and exhaling. The tree is always breathing in and out. And the children are always coming in and out. And remember, meditation doesn't just happen in a vacuum. We live in a world where everybody's moving around, things are going on. We want to hold the meditative state no matter what's going on around us. Breathing in and releasing. Feel how now that energy feels like it's coming up even higher in the body, coming up through the knees, up through the thighs. Are you feeling that? This is the natural, allowing it naturally and gracefully to come. This is allowance grounding, not intention-focused grounding, but allowance grounding. Feel how now it's coming up into the abdomen, up into that seat, and releasing. And just like the ocean scrubs clean the beach as it comes, it's not with an intention. It's not saying, I'm going to get rid of this garbage. It just is scrubbing and cleansing and releasing. Just allow that process to go. Feel how now it's up in the abdomen. Oh, that was a big one. Rising up into that lower diaphragm. Breathing in. Feel it opening up into the chest. Notice how the breath is coming longer and easier, smoother. And now it's rising up into the shoulders and the arms. Feel it coming up into the throat. And now feel it coming up into the head. And that crown opening up. And feel how already that source is there for you. A heaviness like at the top of the head. Open to it. Open up and allow that highest of yourself to come down and through. Allow that, like liquid honey, to just pour down through the body, through each cell, through even the spaces between the cells. And where that Gaia energy was scrubbing and cleansing, this is like feeding and nurturing and bringing in that energy, bringing in that clarity. Allow that to drip down. Feel it already coming down through the throat, down through the body. Feel the path. And just like before, if the breath catches, if it slows, allow more of that energy to flow through there. Just opening and allowing. Now it's starting to get down into that belly space, into our third and second chakras, into our root. Let it flow down through the legs and down through the feet, allowing it to just flow out of us, serving in this time of allowance as a conduit for Source and for Gaia, a connection. Now I want you to imagine that your heart is your radio station. This is where you're transmitting from. Our heart chakra, our crown is how we connect to Source. Our root is how we connect into Gaia. And our heart is how we connect to each other. So imagine that your heart space is opening up. And as it opens up, it's connecting into that web of all the other consciousnesses that we exist with. The collective. See it as a great big web spreading out, and you're a part of that web. Can you see it? If you're struggling to visualize it, pretend that you see it. Think of a book or a picture that you've seen with a great big net, a great big web. And see how your heart is like one of the buoys on that web, holding its space, keeping it afloat, balance between consciousness and unconsciousness. Feel that web extending out from you and begin to notice the other buoys that are on the web that are near you. Just notice them, observe them. Observe things like, what color are they? Are they floating above the surface? Are they at the surface? Are they below it? Does the connections look strong and healthy? Allow that Gaia energy and that liquid source energy to flow out of the heart through that web. And just allow. This meditation doesn't have a focus other than to connect, to allow, and to observe. So I'm going to go, and I want you to continue your meditation for as long as you feel like you can, because the connection, that's where it's all about. Much love to you. Thank you for joining me today. Oh yeah, let's see. If you're in the Salem area, we will be at a fair in Corvallis on Saturday. I promised I would say something